I've been playing Genshin Impact for about a month now. I wasn't really planning to play it in the beginning, because first, it's a gacha game, and secondly, I really didn't feel like I would enjoy the combat, specifically the switching around between four characters thing that they have. Then I saw this free 20 wishes ad that they had on YouTube, so I just told myself, why not? Why not try the game? So I guess ads do work, especially if they offer you free stuff. Fun tip, if it's too good to be true, it's probably not. Anyways, here's a casual slash free to play slash noob players review. Let's just go with that. Full disclaimer. Most, if not all, of whatever this is are just personal opinions and my impression of the game. This is not an in-depth analysis of any kind, but hopefully it still provides a relatively informative insight about Genshin Impact. Why play now or at all? Is it a good time to start? Well, I started playing a few weeks before version 3.0 got released, which is around 2 years after the game got first launched on September of 2020. So for an online slash gacha game, that's quite a bit of time, which means plenty of things have happened, changes and all of that jazz. A couple of major updates here and there. Limited time events have come and go, along with the free items and the sweet primo gems that you may have missed. And let's not forget that sometimes free 4 stars that may come along with a new update, like Kole for version 3.0. With how online game nowadays plays into FOMO or fear of missing out, it makes starting in a game kind of unappealing. Because the longer the game has been out, the more things you may have missed. Another thing is that fear of being too behind the player base. A pretty valid opinion, but I feel that it would be more applicable with competitive MMORPGs and gacha games. Games that needs you to have a certain character or item just to keep up with the PvP meta. But in the case of Genshin Impact, and some not so competitive gacha games, I actually feel like it's better to start a bit later. Wait, didn't you just said? Now, hear me out. So, two main reasons why starting a bit later may be better, especially for free-to-play players. Number 1, character pool. Gacha games may have a pretty small amount of characters at the beginning of the game, and as time passes, they add more. And well, there's always this unavoidable thing that happens along with that. The thing called power creep. So playing later just gives you more options. Maybe you'll get that OP new character, or at least you already know which characters to go. Number 2, the system changes. No games are made perfect. Heck, no games are perfect, period. So no matter how many updates, there will always be something that might need a bit of changing. But oftentimes, older games, yeah, there's quotation marks in that, have better quality of life additions to it. Obviously, these are not always the case, but more often than not, these two reasons always play a big role to a gacha game or in an online game success. As for Genshin Impact's PvP, well, there doesn't seem to be any competitive or there's no competition to be had against other players in the game, at least from what I know of. It's pretty much a single-player PvE game, and while there is co-op, it's mostly for items and material gathering. I may have started playing the game because I got lured by that ad, but after taking all of these considerations into account, I thought to myself, maybe continuing to play wouldn't be so bad. After all, I am finding the game pretty enjoyable. Starting off, as a new player coming in, I actually find the game pretty welcoming. The tutorial is pretty straightforward, the story is pretty interesting if a bit cliche, and the game herds you in a way that doesn't feel too restrictive. And it kind of persists throughout the game. Some areas or regions are locked until you reach the required adventure rank or complete the necessary quests for them. But personally, I like it since it makes the game and its features not too overwhelming. Other features. By features, I mean gacha. Okay, obviously Genshin Impact is a gacha game, It's quite notorious for it, in fact. But I'm going free to play, so Primo Gems, the freemium currency, is all I really care to know about. As a free to play noob, all of my Primo Gems, or Primos, are going to be used for summons and wishes. Specifically limited time character banners. And if I really like the character, then I'll probably wish for their weapon as well. Well, after getting them, of course. After doing a few wishes or summons, you also get star glitters and stardust. The star glitters, I'm still not so sure of. But the stardust, I would assume that getting both fates are worth it, since they pretty much become star glitters and stardust again after you use them or wishing. So unless you're rich and have cash to burn, then you decide whether to summon in the standard banner as well. But if not, then only use the acquaint fates you get in the standard banner. Oh, a reminder as well. You can directly use your Primo Gems to summon if you don't have fates. So when summoning in the standard banner, make sure you have 10 fates so you don't accidentally use Primo Gems on them. For the limited time banner, I would suggest to read online posts and guides to get a general idea which character is best to wish for, especially if it's not a new character but a rerun. Another reason why playing a bit later is kind of better. People already have an idea which character is good or not. And yeah, I know you can make your own decisions regarding that. Overall, Genshin Impact is a relatively easy game. You can finish it up to the latest story update just by using the free characters you get. Well, that's what I've been told anyways. Currently, I just started the third region Archon quest, or main quest, and I really haven't faced that much of a difficulty spike, in the overworld enemies at least. Domains and bosses, on the other hand, seems to need a relatively good understanding of elemental reactions. And that's where combat comes in. So combat style is action RPG. At first, I really didn't think that I'm gonna like it. I thought there's nothing much to it except for that 4-party switching thing. To be honest, I really didn't like the idea of said switching around between 4 different characters. In fact, that's the biggest issue I have prior to playing Genshin, and why I haven't really tried it till recently. But oh boy, two words. Elemental reactions. The first couple of hours playing, I was like, I'm just gonna stick to one character. But after trying the reactions myself, using the elemental skills and elemental burst, well, it's pretty lit. Hahaha. You apply one element, then another, then boom, they react. Well, obviously an oversimplification, but you know, pretty lights and big numbers, that's a win in my book. Enemies with shields also needs elemental reactions before you can start dealing more damage to them. It's pretty intuitive, not gonna lie. Same elements doesn't affect each other. Water beats fire, fire beats ice, grass beats water, lightning gets damaged almost equally by all other elements. Wind and earth can chip all the other elements. And yes, I know that's not what they're called, okay? So another thing, normal and physical attacks kind of fall off. Not for all characters though, since Eula, for example, is a beast. But she's an exception rather than the norm. The combat leans in towards elemental reactions rather than bashing an enemy with a club. And this becomes more noticeable as you play. Early game, normal attacks are fine and all, but as you progress later, well, you'll have an easier time exploding enemies with your skills. And also, try to keep an archer or a long-range character in your party. Some overworld enemies can only be attacked or damaged by long-range attacks, and yeah, they're pretty annoying to deal with. Exploration. So being an open world game, there's plenty of world to explore, and along with the combat, I would say this is one of the better aspects of the game. If you like running around doing nothing in Breath of the Wild, Skyrim, Elden Ring, then you'll probably like running around the world of Genshin Impact as well. Currently, by this video's released, we're 4 regions into the game. Well, 4 main regions. And there's at least 3 more regions to come, at least. Each region, or nations to be more precise, has plenty of things to discover. And oh boy, the dopamine kick you get from explorations, and the rewards you may get from them, well, it makes my monkey brain go. So enemies, domains, chest, quests, puzzles, hidden pieces, collectibles, well, kind of, they're pretty much everywhere. Might be a bit overwhelming if you think too much about it, so don't. Just collect them as you go. No use saving them up for later as well, since seriously, there's really no point saving them all up for later or getting back to them later. Since all of the endgame equipment are either gacha, for the weapons, or in the domains for artifacts. Everything else is pretty much just fodder. Obviously, not all of them, so try to research stuff, okay? Try to read stuff online. And while we're at it, let's talk resin. Resins are used to get drops from ley lines, domains, and bosses. Just use it for Goba's sake. Use it a couple of times for XP ley lines early game. Mid-game, maybe go for ascension mats and for talent materials. Late game, well, probably artifacts. I have no idea at this point. But just use them. You'll be more familiar with its uses after a while. But make sure you don't cap out on the resin, okay? And let's not forget about adventure rank as well, your account level. Just raise it up as fast and as comfortably as you can. It unlocks more features. It unlocks the Archon quests, also known as the game's main story, as well as other side quests. It allows you access to higher level domains, which gives rarer and better drops. It increases your world level, which in turn scales up the enemies you encounter on the overworld and makes them drop better and rarer materials. Just go at your own pace, at your own leisure. Better yet, you can also read guides online if you really want to know more about all of this stuff. Because, oof, it's pretty broad and there's far too many things to cover. So start. Well, classic hero story. MC goes around trying to save someone special to them, their sibling, okay? Uncover some kind of evil plot. But wait, are they truly the evil that you need to face and defeat? Or is there more to it than meets the eye? Along the way you meet friends, allies, and new enemies. There might even be a god, or 2, or 3, and so on and so forth. I pretty much skipped the story and every and all dialogue since the second region. Okay, in my defense, I don't have much time to play, okay? And needing almost an hour just to complete one quest, and majority of it almost all dialogue? Just give me the action and exploration, please. But story, still pretty entertaining. Well, from what I got from the first part of the game. Just try to ignore that flying gremlin thing that accompanies you. Thoughts. I really wanted to keep this short and cohesive as possible, but who am I kidding? At this point, I think everything I said is just a big mess of words scrambled and mashed together. So what I'm saying is, Genshin Impact is a free-to-play, vast open-world action RPG available on mobile, console, and PC. And okay. Whew. In all honesty, I barely scratched the surface of the game. I guess this explanation and review of mine is pretty bare bones as well. You could even say my thoughts around it is still pretty superficial. But that's the thing. I'm explaining the game in the point of view of a pretty casual player. I play the game maybe 1 to 2 hours a day. But so far, Genshin Impact is a more than decent game with plenty of features that might appeal to different people. It's far from perfect, but it's pretty fun. It might be the art style, the characters, the story, the music, the combat, heck, maybe the gathering, farming, fishing. Or a bit later, but still quite early. Into the game, you get your own private island that you can customize. And that might be your cup of tea. Ha ha ha. Just try it out for yourself, I guess. If you want to, at least. By the end of the day, it's always up to you whether you like something or not. But I find that it's pretty casual slash free to play slash noob friendly as it gets. I'm still quite far away from the endgame. Let's be honest, the game itself is quite a bit away from the endgame. So I don't really have much to complain yet. Maybe that will change, since from what I've read, most of the complaints about the game comes from the later stages of the current patch. From lack of things to do to the repetitive events which usually has no variety, the amount of farming just to get the perfect artifact and the lack of resin to do said farming. Well, that's pretty much it. So what are your thoughts? What do you like or dislike about the game? Well, if you play it, share it down in the comments below. And that's it for now. So stay safe everyone, and don't let that tiny flying gremlin eat your food.